Sean, we've got the biggest news ever today.
Yes, we do. We're going to do some updates on Israel and Iran.
Special Saturday transmission.
Yes, sir. Islamic invasion. We got a Charlie Kirk update. And we're going to talk about deed thefts that appear to be on the rise.
And an update on the future of InfoWars. But the first big story is just unbelievable. And then when you've got the backstory and the other pieces to it, it is 100% clear what's going on. And everybody knows, who knows me, knows that I'm not somebody that obsesses over Israel. I'm not somebody that says Israel runs everything in the past. I get attacked by the Nazis and people because they've always said Israel has a plan for global domination, Zionist occupation forces are going to rule America. And then they accuse me of working for Israel and all this made up stuff. So I kind of got prejudiced towards that because they attack me so much and I have nothing to do with Israel, though I study all these different geopolitical things. And I've exposed Israel for the USS Liberty and the Levant affair and false flags and manipulating our Congress and AIPAC, but there's other big power lobbies, the Communist Chinese and, the big central banks closely associated with Israel and a lot of other lobbies and foreign governments, they're trying to manipulate us as well. You've got the EU, trying to censor Americans with all these lawsuits and things on Elon Musk. I cover all the major power blocks that are trying to take our freedoms and our sovereignty. And I look at the big tech companies with their AI data centers, power grabbing. So I try to be very fair and just look at all the groups, all the power groups, what they're up to, what they're doing. But we're in the fourth turning. There is a cycle every 87 years of each generation ending, but every four, historians have noted, and it's like clockwork, you have a fourth turning, a big mega turning. And so the old global order is falling apart. And Israel is uniquely positioned with about half the billionaires in the world being Jewish, and a lot of them being Zionists, that they have rich, powerful people all over the world, not just in the United States, not just in Israel, not just in Europe, but Australia, Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, everywhere. And so Israel's been positioning itself for a long time. Netanyahu's been in and out of power for 26 years. He's really the ringleader, kingpin of the really bad group in Israel. And they've gotten where the ADL trains most of the police departments with all their anti-free speech stuff. They've got private intelligence files. Some people that work with the Southern Poverty Law Center that got caught running all the white supremacist groups to create the crisis, to offer the solution. And they have been doing a lot of, obviously, joint training with our military. The new iPhone's operating chip is Israeli-made. They've been caught putting back doors in a lot of our telecommunications, even more so than China. This is a fact. And if you talk to former high-level CIA people like Kiriakou and others, they'll tell you that no foreign intelligence agency was anywhere as aggressive as Israel. And all the things they would do. And they famously used Monica Lewinsky, an operative, to blackmail Bill Clinton. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad operative, got a Mossad, honors and stuff. Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was buried with a Mossad burial, and he was kind of the guy that handed over the keys to Epstein. So everybody pretty much knows about all that, okay?
Welcome back, Nick here. Let's unpack this opening segment. What we are witnessing right out of the gate is a textbook example of how fringe political media operates in the modern era. The host begins by preemptively defending himself, claiming he isn't obsessed with any specific nation and is just an objective geopolitical analyst. This is a common rhetorical shield. By saying, "I've been attacked for this," he immediately paints himself as a truth-teller fighting the establishment. He invokes the concept of the fourth turning, a historical theory about cyclical crises to create a sense of urgent, apocalyptic stakes. This hooks the viewer. However, notice how quickly the narrative pivots from a general critique of global power structures to very specific, historically loaded tropes about Jewish wealth and Zionist control. As an analyst, I see this not as journalism, but as narrative building. The goal in these first 3 minutes isn't to inform. It's to construct a worldview where the audience feels they are getting access to forbidden knowledge that mainstream media won't touch. It's highly effective for audience retention, but deeply problematic regarding factual grounding.
But two things have happened in the last week, and one of them just happened last night. Now, a week ago, it breaks that Section 224 of the Defense Authorization Act, the big $1 trillion bill that they're trying to pass right now for next year's military funding, had a provision 224 in it. And it's only 5 pages long. And it's clear as day, and top defense contractor analysts have looked at it, concur with my analysis. It literally says they create a special czar who is empowered by the president and with no oversight, who will then liaison with the Israeli military and intelligence from academia and DARPA and defense development to satellites to weapon telemetry to tracking to weapon development to bioweapons. I mean, it listed all.
So this czar is on their side.
This czar has dictatorial power. And now a month ago, Netanyahu said, oh, we're not going to get any U.S. taxpayer money soon. We won't need Congress anymore. We're going to do defense weapons deals with shared weapons platforms with the U.S. And they go, oh, we've got a great anti-missile missile. It's just, so, oh, we're just doing an anti-missile missile deal with them. No. That's just one small part of this. And people can go read Section 224. I can show some congressional clips where they talk about it. Then it turns out, because Netanyahu wrote a letter to the committee head thanking them for putting in the legislation that he wrote. But we'll get to that in a moment. First, that broke a week ago, okay? Mm-hmm. But scroll down so they can read the headline. This broke yesterday. Pentagon raised threat of Israeli spying on U.S. to highest level, sources say, worse than China, saying it's the Defense Intelligence Agency, says that Israel is now the number one threat to our national security. Mm-hmm. Now, that's because Israel is, again, famous for human intelligence and signals intelligence. They've been caught in the last 10 years putting up stingrays, scooping up all the cell phone data around the White House, planting devices in the White House. I mean, nobody does this, okay? But Israel. I mean, this is over the top. So,
but we're not allowed to spy on them.
No, there's a law.
We can spy on everybody else, but not them. But yes. They can spy on us.
So you have this integration, and then you have the Israel First lobby. And by the way, they passed it out of committee. There was a amendment, and this happened Thursday, an amendment in the Armed Services Committee and the other committees to cut out Section 224 that just gives a blank check to Israel and the czar that gives them access to everything as spies and makes it legal. The committee chairman and others just go, none of that's there. This is just a missile deal. They're all liars. Move on. We're not passing the resolution, so the bill goes forward. So they didn't have the amendment pulling that out. And it's just a bald-faced lie. Anybody can go, just go into X or go into Google or just go to thomas.loc.gov, congressional website, type in NDAA 2027, Section 224. You're there. You read it. It says it integrates everything in live time. Everything. So when something's integrated live time, that means they're got the keys to the kingdom. Mm. Drones, AI. Oh, I forgot that. AI, all this. So now, then we learned 2 weeks ago, and this is being put out now because the Pentagon's worried, even though they've been pro-Israel overall. They put out this information that, oh, by the way, Israel's been risen to the number one security counter-espionage threat. Mm. And so we know the White House is full of a bunch of Israel firsters. And, my thing was just pro-Israel and support Israel not being blown up or whatever. We knew that. I don't want to get Israel blown up. And so I was, Trump's got this big streak of Israel, but he still overall is America first. Now he makes statements like, I'm not worried about the average American's financial plight. I only care about Israel. I did this for Israel. These are quotes. Mm-hmm. He says, I'm not worried about your Medicare and Medicaid and the economy. All that matters is war. So he actually says, Israel's the number one priority. He pulled the clips up just 2 weeks ago. He said, no, Israel's my main priority. I did this for Israel. Israel lied to him. Mossad told him, this is on record, that it would, that the mullahs would fall in 2 to 4 days, that they wouldn't be able to close the strait. Here we are 98 days later. Mm-hmm. It's a total disaster for the economy, inflation. The oil companies just told Trump, if you think the 47% increase in gas prices the last 90-something days is bad, it's about to go another 35, 40% in 2 weeks. And that bakes into inflation for everybody. That's a real tax. Okay, so the point is they got all the Israeli bots flooding real Alex Jones on X. You can go read these saying, quoting Bible verses out of stuff. You're going to be cursed. You hate Israel, blah, blah, blah. When the whole Old Testament is when Israel's good, it's blessed. When it's bad, God sends them into bondage. It's just all made up that, but it's this dispensationalism the last 200 years in America where people are taught, you don't worship Jesus, you worship King Herod. You worship whoever the leader of Israel is, even though he's super unpopular over there and has already been convicted and is using war to stay in power. It's just totally crazy. So it is legitimate fact. And I said on my show Thursday and Friday, people can pull the clips up, I said, Israel is now the number one national security threat. And then hours later, this comes out with the Pentagon saying that. Okay, so this is a cry for help from the Pentagon, and I guarantee that folks that put this report out, it was released by the director of Defense Intelligence Agency. The Israel lobby is going to come for them.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they have a kayak accident or swimming.
Has Trump put out any statements on this?
No, and I've been saying for the last week, Trump needs to come out against Section 224, and if he comes out and supports Section 224 to integrate every aspects of our satellites, our intel, our military, bioweapons, AI, it's all there in 5 pages.
Yeah.
I read it on here twice. Please go read it, folks. And then watch him on the news going, there's nothing there. It's just a missile deal. It's just a defense missile deal. Israel's literally saying, we don't need your money anymore because they're going to have joint access to all the patents and weapon development. We're talking about trillions, and now be co-owners of the military-industrial complex. That Eisenhower warned us about our own military-industrial complex getting out of control. Now we have this ultimate coup attempting to be happening right now. I mean, it is so off the charts, Sean. I can't even believe it's this arrogant. So this literally will be the Zionist-occupied government that I used to laugh at the Nazis about.
It's just official now.
I mean, I used to laugh at them. Oh, yeah, Israel's going to totally take over and make us, its first, state or whatever. It's second state in their new Greater Israel project. Now they've been bombing all over southern Lebanon, tens of thousands of homes. Now Israel says, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take all those Christians' houses and move Jews in. Just 6 months ago, the ADL would say you were anti-Semitic if you said that. I mean, and now they're putting out the brochures. The government is telling settlers, get ready and come claim your land.
Them to just taking over people's houses here in the United States, the deed theft.
Yeah, well, in Israel, that's what they do. But I mean, and it's happening everywhere. The point is that people are trying to be in denial about this, and I guess I was in denial too, because communist China is a big issue. The EU, the globalists, big tech, all that. But in this power vacuum, Israel is now the main group that wants to secure its future by controlling our foreign policy. To do that, it's got to control our domestic policy. And they primaried Massey and bragged about it. That was foreign money. And they ran off MTG, and they're saying, we run America now. Ben Gvir really runs Israel. He's their national security head. He tells Netanyahu what to do, and when Netanyahu goes, it's going to be him.
How concerned are you with Ben Gvir?
I mean, he literally says, we rule the earth.
Moving to the second block, Nick here again. This segment requires a sharp media literacy lens. The host leans heavily into discussions about the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, and cites alleged Pentagon reports about espionage. Now, in the real world of international relations, espionage between allies is a known, documented reality. We spy on them. They spy on us. Furthermore, the U.S.-Israel military relationship is indeed deeply integrated and debated in Congress. However, the commentary here takes these granular realities and inflates them into a hyper-conspiratorial deep state takeover narrative. He uses terms like a dictatorial czar and claims foreign entities are officially running the U.S. government. This is exactly how disinformation thrives. It takes a verifiable document or a legitimate geopolitical debate and wraps it in a layer of absolute paranoia. By citing real legislative vehicles like the NDAA, the host lends an air of legitimacy to his broader, unfounded claims. For the average viewer, it sounds like investigative reporting, but it's actually speculative fiction grafted onto congressional procedure.
We're going to slaughter everybody. We're going to dominate. The Israeli ambassador to the United States, Mike Huckabee, now he's not the U.S. ambassador, he's the Israeli ambassador. He gets up there and says, Israel can take it all. It's in the Bible, the whole Middle East. He gets up in front of college students and says, you will rule the earth. You are the rulers of the earth. Mm-hmm. You will soon rule the earth. I mean, this is like megalomania, cartoon, supervillain stuff. And I mean, I, as an American citizen, and as someone that is loyal to the Republic and ancestors with the back star of the country, both sides, I have a responsibility to come out and say what this is. And this is so over the top. It's so crazy. I mean, when did you ever think you'd see the Pentagon put out a report and at the highest level and say, no, Israel's now the number one threat to our sovereignty?
That's a big statement.
They said emergency. Their spies are everywhere. They're infiltrating everything. Look out. Right when they're trying to pass this bill to make it legal. That's the Pentagon going, whoa. Yeah, we've worked with you. We're not for the Muslims. We're not for the radical Islamists. We're not anti-Israel existing. Notice there's all these military bases flying Israeli flags, and then it comes out and they still keep flying them right at the same height as the American flag. That's like Muslims when they block highways and roads in New York to have call to prayer. It's territorial. It's pissing on us. It's planting the flag. It's marking territory. And so that's the first thing. And as soon as I got up at like 5 a.m. and just posted a link to this, and in came the bots instantly. You're a liar. This isn't real. What, now you believe NBC News? Well, I don't believe NBC News when they say I should turn my guns in, but I believe NBC News when they link to the Pentagon website and show the report. I mean, so yeah, this is real. And again, they try the same tactic. Oh, that's just a missile defense system deal. That's not an integration of the Israeli military and intelligence into ours. It says it. And now let's move to Benjamin Netanyahu's letter that came out 4 days ago. Now, it turns out it was out a week ago, but the members of Congress that got these, not just one, this is one particular committee member, he says, I was glad to receive your proposed congressional resolution, which is now in the bill, endorsing my plan, that's Benjamin Netanyahu, to shift the framework of U.S.-led defense cooperation from aid to partnership. And then he goes on to say, merge all the platforms together, AI, intelligence, it's all right there. But then you go read the legislation, it's more detailed. So, it's just a missile defense system. No, it's not. That's your God. You go to hell if you don't worship Benjamin Netanyahu's dingleberries. Your God says it's a merger. So, boom, checkmate. Your God. Bow to him. It's like in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he holds up the idol and they all have to bow down. It's like, Netanyahu. They go, whoa. So I'm like, but Netanyahu said, So God has spoken. Nope, your Lord said so. Your God, your king, your master, who you swear allegiance to, okay? Because you don't want to go to hell. So my deal is Israel's bitten off way more than it can chew. He's a convicted criminal. He's even unpopular in Israel, but he uses parliamentary manipulation to stay in power. The problem is the people about to replace him are even worse. And Israel literally gets up now and says, Greater Israel, we're taking over. Amalek to everyone. We're going to kill everyone. We're going to blow up the Christians. We're taking everything. And then meanwhile, I see the Israel First Lobby going, oh, what are you for? The Muslims now? Or are you for Greta Thunberg, who's, anti-Israel? No, just because Israel's doing bad stuff doesn't mean now we go, oh, but the Muslims are good. It's not an either or. It's notice, we've had 15 times the Muslims in the West we had before 9/11. I thought we were fighting them over there like you did so they don't come over here. Well, they actually bring them over here. And then Israel founded Hamas and supported them and protected them. It turns out Lindsey Graham gave hundreds of millions of taxpayer money to Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah, and Hamas. They are creating these groups so they have a pretext to then expand and attack.
Yeah.
So here's a congressional clip. And again, they had an amendment to pull out Section 224. It failed. But this is right before the vote. This is a Congressman Rahana talking about it, pointing out that Netanyahu actually wrote the legislation. Here it is.
People are tired of the arrogance and insolence of Prime Minister Netanyahu telling America what we should do. The entire country of Israel has a GDP that is less than a single town in my district. Yet somehow Netanyahu thinks he can tell the American people what we should do. The person who's most upset with him right now is President Donald Trump. And everyone in America, whether you're a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat, says that we need to tell Netanyahu that America calls the shots, not the prime minister of any other country. They want less cooperation and blank checks to Israel, not more. Only the United States Congress would dream up at this moment, let's actually do more for Israel, not less. And that's what Section 2024 does. It's a pretty simple thing. Should we do more for Israel than we already do, or should we do less? If you think we should do more for Israel, you should be against my amendment. If you think we should do less for Israel at the time that he's arrogantly telling Donald Trump what to do, then you should be for my amendment. Now, let me just be clear. Mr. Netanyahu actually wrote to a member of Congress to put this Section 224 into the bill.
So, again, now it has passed out of committee. They were unable to strike it down. And I challenge every American, don't believe me, it's Section 224 of the Defense Authorization Act 2027. Go read it. Read Netanyahu's letter. That's what it does. And days after this comes out, the Defense Intelligence Agency goes, emergency, Israel's the number one threat. They've got spies infiltrating everywhere. I mean, literally, red alert, highest alert level. So the Pentagon says the number one highest level threat is Israeli intelligence infiltrating everything and spying electronically and with human spies, human. And they're openly now moving forward with the bill out of committee to hand everything over to them. And you've got Israel announcing Greater Israel, and they're going to invade everywhere and blowing up the Christians in Lebanon. You've got them involved in our domestic elections. You've got the ADL involved with the police departments. You got 38 states that pass laws that if you're a government contractor that builds highways or buildings or anything, or you sell coffee to the government, anything, trash bags, it's a felony if you put in a contract and end up getting it, if you've ever criticized Israel in any way, including Zionism, which means you don't believe that Israel has a right to do whatever it wants. So Israel's really making a move with its lobbies and its money to come in and censor, control, and just do terrible things. And Israel has the lowest approval rating in the world in Gallup polls. Mm-hmm. The whole world's turning against Israel, and I don't get some thrill out of that and say, great, I wish Israel would reform itself instead of getting worse and worse and worse. And then when I'm forced to oppose what they're doing because it's dangerous and totalitarian, I know they're going to come after me, as they already have with their lobbies. They've been instrumental in attacks on me already. And meanwhile, while the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center has been caught funding the white supremacists to make everything look cartoonish when you resist them, just like Israel created Hamas and funded them to make everything look cartoonish. And the Israelis declassified it even in the 90s. It's been declassified since then. They said, we created Hamas and funded them because we didn't want legitimate governments in Gaza and other areas that would stand up like Martin Luther King and not be violent and be reasonable. We put in people that are going to attack us who are crazy so we can keep blowing them up. Mm-hmm. And so that's what this is sick. And people one-dimensionally think, oh.
This is Nick, breaking down segment 3. Here we see perhaps the most fascinating media tactic of the broadcast, the weaponization of mainstream by partisan friction. The hosts play a clip of progressive Congressman Ro Khanna criticizing foreign influence and the blank checks given to allies. Representative Khanna is making a conventional, albeit strong, foreign policy argument about us sovereignty. But watch what the hosts do. They hijack this legitimate political critique and use it as proof for their extreme overarching conspiracy theory about a total domestic takeover. They take a progressive Democrat's frustration and twist it to validate fringe tropes. This creates a powerful cognitive dissonance for the viewer. The host essentially says, see, even Congress admits the conspiracy is real. Is a masterful but deeply manipulative sleight of hand. As a political commentator, I have to point out that debating military aid or foreign lobbying is standard American politics. Framing that debate as evidence of a shadowy subversion of the republic is where political analysis ends and paranoia begins.
I'm for Israel. I'm not with the Nazis. I'm not with the Muslims. The point is that this is a crisis creation operation that's going on. Look at how Israel and Turkey overthrew 2 years ago Assad, who was a dictator, but an angel compared to the global leader of Al-Qaeda they put in charge of there. Now he's purged the Christians and others. And we're told he's a good guy. And Israel gave air support to ISIS, slash Al-Qaeda, same group, different variant, in Syria. This is all on record. And what's crazy is I used to talk about this when the West was funding these groups to attack Syria when it all started like 18 years ago. They called me conspiracy theorist, even though it was in the different white papers and defense papers and even came out in Congress. It was a fact. But now it's just all over the news. Yeah, okay, Israel and the U.S. and the British intelligence have been funding Al-Qaeda since the 70s. Big deal. I mean, it's just like, okay. And then they attack us, and then we lose our freedoms. Mm-hmm. See how it works? So Israel is making a major move on America, and they think that if they can control Congress and control local state governments and control the police, which they do to a great extent, then we are talking about a Zionist-occupied government.
Yeah.
And that's literally, I used to sit there and watch, when I was like a teenager and watch HBO documentaries where we'd have the guys in their Nazi uniforms going, and they're going to have a Zionist-occupied government and rule the police and have checkpoints and you're going to control everything you do and we'll be part of the greater Israel. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And they go, oh, you work for them, boy. You're one of them. And I'm just like, now I'm like, literally, it's all coming true. And I'm just like, what the hell what's your take as a veteran American to see this?
Well, for me, I would be super confused right now because if the Pentagon's saying one thing, but then the administration is completely in bed with Israel, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do, honestly. I'd be questioning every order that was given to me at this point. You've probably seen this. Anthony Aguilar speaking to Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Well, I can tell you that I know a couple guys, separately Army guys, and they don't even know each other. They separately contacted me, and I know these guys well. And these guys have always been pro-Israel, and they were in Afghanistan, Iraq, all over the world, you name it. And they contacted me, and they said, our view is totally different because they were over there overseeing those aid missions in Gaza, and they said they just basically just shoot little kids for fun, run them with bulldozers, stuff far worse than that. Because that video is a couple of years old.
Is it?
Or a year and a half old or so, if I remember correctly. The point is, there's videos where you have thousands of people begging for food, and you just see them start shooting them, and they're just falling over dead. And I mean, my point is, Israel goes, well, October 7th, they did some of that to us. Okay, well, you've done it on a scale 50 times what they did to you, and those are little kids. They didn't do that. And also, Netanyahu stood down for 7.5 hours, and so did the IDF on October 7th, when normally they're there in 2 minutes. Most armed camp in the world. 7.5 hours, the main military stood down. They stood down so they could have that attack happen. Didn't mean they ran Hamas. They funded them, wound them up, and they did it. And Israel admits they did that so they'd have an excuse to blow up the Muslims.
Yeah.
So, and then when they have the refugees, these people, they're going to ship them here all pissed off. So in general, Islam is a cancer. It's expanding. It's evil. It's out of control. That's what the Quran is a battle plan. Well, Israel has a battle plan to take over. I'm against that. The Muslims have a battle plan to take over. I'm against that. The Chi-Coms have a battle plan. I'm against it. The globalists, big tech do. I'm against all these predatory groups doing this. And we have to just go down the line and oppose each one of them. But right now, the thing coming for all of our freedoms, just openly, and you're right, it's very confusing until you dig deeper. Trump is nice to Israel. He himself has a lot of Jewish friends. He understands it's some diverse ideas and groups. He wants peace over there. The Abraham Accords, he wants them expanded. And then he has to work with Netanyahu. He doesn't really like Netanyahu. I've known that from people for a long time. Netanyahu was the first foreign leader to call and congratulate Joe Biden when he stole the election in 2020. And so, but Trump puts on this act. And then it was Trump, as I said, it came out later, 2 weeks ago, that leaked that, that he told Netanyahu, you're effing crazy. You blow up whole buildings to get one bad guy, kill a bunch of kids. You'd be in prison if it wasn't for me. Everybody hates Israel now because of you. That was a transcript. Trump did say all that. Netanyahu admits it, and Trump admits it now. That is Trump trying to off-ramp and distance himself because he really thought at certain levels, the Israelis were spying on him, but he really thought he could control it. That's not the case. And now Trump knows that Israel's been trying to sabotage his other operations. He knows Israel is well known to be the number one, even above China, thief forever of our technology. And so it's a mixed bag, but he's starting to try to decouple from Netanyahu because he knows the war has destroyed his approval rating in the economy ahead of the midterms just 5 months away. But paradoxically, he has put a lot of his financial eggs in the Israeli basket.
Nick, back with you. In this fourth segment, the rhetoric crosses a very dangerous line from geopolitical theory into unverified, inflammatory military claims. The hosts introduce a narrative from an alleged former US soldier making horrific claims about overseas military conduct, and then pivot to claiming that foreign intelligence intentionally stood down on October 7th to allow massacres to happen. As an analyst, I have to throw a massive red flag here. First, anecdotal accounts in the fog of conflict zones, especially without independent journalistic verification, are notoriously unreliable and highly emotionally charged. Second, the stand-down theory mirrors the early 2000s inside job conspiracies. It takes an absolute, tragic failure of intelligence and border security and reframes it as a malicious, calculated inside job. This serves a dual purpose. It absolves the actual perpetrators of their agency and fuels a massive anti-establishment narrative. This kind of broadcasting doesn't seek accountability. It seeks to sow absolute distrust in every institution, ally, and historical event.
So members of Congress, you see all their insider trading. Well, Israel has, if they have a deal with you, you can go there and run and have no extradition. So they're basically, like the corrupt Congress and others, has laundered of the hundreds of billions of dollars, more than half of it back to themselves bipartisanly out of Ukraine. And in the congressional hearings, they're like, by the way, we're not just going to give Israel access to all our weapons and secrets and corporately merge with them. We're going to do this with Ukraine, too. We're writing that up. So it's basically creating these black holes where they can just spend money and not have it be able to be traced. Mm-hmm. And it's just a feeding frenzy that's going on.
Do you see this as Trump just trying to get a piece of this feeding frenzy? The Democrats did it with Ukraine for 4 years, and now Trump's trying to do this with Israel?
Yes. Trump tried to come in and save the country. Very little insider trading, very little corruption. He lost most of his wealth when he was in there, and then the 4 years when he wasn't. And then the Israel constellation lobby corporate system, half the billionaires in the world are Jewish. And suddenly the billionaires that hadn't been on the side, suddenly the majority of Jewish billionaires came and said, look, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the network, the private intelligence network. They call themselves Jewry. We have Jewry, and we're leaving the Democrats because they're so pro-Islam now. And a lot of that's been the left and leftist Jews even creating that ideology. So it's like they're biting themselves in the ass. And they said, we will get behind you. We will protect you. And then when you're out of office, we will protect you. And we have a whole dynasty with your family. And all these construction deals and things in the Middle East, and Israel heavily investing in all the Trump stuff, along with other Gulf countries. And so, Trump absolutely started down the road of serious standard operating procedure corruption. But he never was really heavily involved in that. I studied it. The Democrats passed a law. People were upset about insider trading 20 years ago, so they passed a law that they can insider trade. And then you got Pelosi that her stock picks are more than double better any other person or company. Well, now Trump has stock picks that are even better with his double blind, trust or whatever. I don't know anything about that. And so all the cabinet that have sons and daughters, they've put them in charge of these huge baskets of money. Mm-hmm. And we're talking billions per kid is just flooding in, and it's disgusting.
He's set up the Trumps for a long time, that's for sure.
And notice what he said a month ago. He said, don't worry, my entire administration, from the janitor to the chef to the cabinet members, will be given a blanket pardon when I leave. Now, that was never done until Biden did it. And a lot of people think it's not constitutional. But specifically, a blanket get out of jail free card. Hypothetically, Biden administration officials could just kidnap children and barbecue them on the street corner and not get in trouble. Well, Trump says, you know what, we're going to do that too. So the U.S. government, we thought Trump would be a reform, and he was a speed bump to it in the first administration. A lot got done. We got a little bit better Supreme Court justices, things like that. The border isn't completely open. But now he is going sideways faster than hell.
This is a different Trump.
It's bad. It's bad. And then the Democrats will take clips of this out and go, oh, look, Jones admits he was wrong the whole time about Trump. No, I didn't say that. He's gone sideways now. And we were right. No, you guys are infinitely just as bad or more. Okay, so just get off your high horses.
Yep. Have you seen this new seventh branch of the armed forces called Cyber Force that they're making? It's, let me see here. This is Congress Senator Gillibrand, 2027 MPAA, 20,000 active duty, 5,000 National Guard, 6,000 civilians, no enlisted, only officers and warrant officers, operational in 12 to 18 months, will operate under both state and federal authority. Imagine that last line, state and federal authority. Imagine what they could do with that.
It's a fusion center with the feds, and then Israel's in that under the new law if it passes. Mm-hmm. So Israel's synced, then the local government's synced, and then now everything the police are getting, everything the dash cams are getting, everything the emails the cops are writing, all that stuff's being fed back to Israel and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Alien disclosure. Focus on that, guys. Focus on that.
And then notice it's just more rumors, more recycling crap on the aliens.
Yeah. Let's get into Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Dore here.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this clip, and I just want to say it's 9 minutes long. I don't have to play the whole thing, but at least half of it. He nails it, and it's all accurate what he says. And it's just important to remember this and just understand that why did Netanyahu come out like 2 days after and say, I didn't kill Charlie Kirk? Because really, most folks weren't even thinking that or saying that then. I said it's too soon. Now we know there's a cover-up of what really happened. We know there's a cover-up of the crime scene. They came in and told the contractors, dig out the dirt several feet or the concrete, fill it in 2 days. It's got to be covered up. Why would you tear out all the concrete? Because the best thinking is that was an exploding mic on his neck, and that it somehow malfunctioned. It was supposed to fire in, but instead if you look at it, looks like it blasts down and up and malfunctions. And so whatever it was, why would the FBI and the order contractors in as fast as possible? They said within 3 days, this has to be dug out. That went out over a foot, tore out concrete, reported. And then I broke that Kash Patel 6 days after in a cabinet meeting, this was later confirmed, said no foreign involvement will be looked at when Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard said they found evidence of a foreign government. Wonder who that could be. So I said up front, hey, let's not say it's Israel day one, because we need to go through this and look at this. But now that's where we are. And I've had reporters that talk to Tyler Robinson's family. They're scared. So only 2 of them have been gone on tape. But they said 2% of what you see in the news is true. Tyler didn't say he did it. It's all a big cover up, and the family fears for their lives. And this is reporters talking to him in the hallways. And I've talked to the reporters, and I'll just leave it at that, because they don't want it all fully released, which I think is not smart. I think because they're scared, they should actually release it. But I've not just aired some of the audio that you just heard me talk about, where they said we think there's a cover up, but specifically the whole thing's a lie.
Yeah.
So this is insane, and they won't even give the defense anything about the rifle. They won't. Well, I mean, Jimmy Dore does the best job breaking it down. But the point is, now that you have Israel coming in and taking over the police, now that you have the feds fusing with everything, and the legislation for Israel to be fused into that, and now you have the Israel lobby saying we're going to destroy anybody that criticizes anything we do. Greater Israel, we want you to, we want a national draft, Israel's saying, and our other, quote, Christian leaders and the guy that they just primaried Massey with says, no, we need a draft right now to go to full war in the Middle East for Israel. Trump says, I'm doing this for Israel. And so I'm just like, I'm not going to be Israel's slave. I cannot believe this is like a nightmare of every trope, of every stereotype, of every crazy thing the Aryan nations was saying 30 years ago. I mean, it's just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And I'm not with the Muslims. I'm not with the Nazis. I'm not with the Chicoms. I'm an American patriot that believes in due process, capitalism, Christianity, family values. Don't force my values on you. Don't force them on me. I wasn't brought up to have a hard on, against Israel and Jews. But now I just have to get over any type of, niceness and just say, no, Israel, you're out of control. You're on a power trip full of chutzpah. Your leaders are out of control. You are a global pariah. And they're just going to keep doubling down and say, we have America, the superpower. We have all the nukes. And we're setting up a police state in America. And their sons and daughters belong to us. And we're going to war. Yeah. I mean, that's what Israel says they're doing. They say, we run America and we're going to war and we're going for broke. And get your kids suited up and ready to fight for us. So I'm like, no, sir.
Yeah.
So Israel is now, as I said Thursday and Friday, the number one threat to world peace and national security of this country. And the Pentagon just came out yesterday and agreed with me. Pretty big deal.
Let's watch this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Let's unpack segment 5. Nick here. What we are observing is a significant fracture within the populist right regarding Donald Trump. The host expresses deep disillusionment, claiming Trump has gone sideways and is now part of the corrupt financial feeding frenzy. This is a critical development in American fringe politics. When a populist figurehead like Trump doesn't align perfectly with the extreme narratives of these commentators, they don't abandon the narrative. They turn on the figurehead. Furthermore, notice the sheer volume of topics thrown at the wall here: insider trading, a new cyber force, blanket pardons, and a quick dismissal of UFO disclosures. This is a tactic known as firehosing. By overwhelming the listener with multiple massive claims of government overreach in rapid succession, the host creates a worldview where everything is interconnected and everyone is corrupt. Finally, they use this chaotic momentum to abruptly pivot to the Charlie Kirk story, linking disparate political grievances into one unified theory of persecution.
Oh, yeah. It's so important, folks. And to share this report and to take clips of it and share it. And because Sean's kicking ass and doing a great job.
That's exactly right.
This tape comes out of super embarrassing Glenn Greenwald sex tape, which I didn't watch, but I just want to say how much I love Glenn. Those aren't connected.
Of
By
course.
the way, the first person to defend him was Charlie Kirk, which is just incredible. Charlie
Kirk, the new Seth Rich. You're not allowed to ask questions about that.
Charlie Kirk is evangelical, pretty darn anti-gay, and then Glenn Greenwald comes out with a gay sex tape, and Charlie Kirk is the first guy to be like, Glenn Greenwald's a good man. Man, I thought that was, makes me emotional thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie had started to have an awakening.
Oh, you think?
He had a lot younger than I had it.
Yeah.
And so that's why they had to kill him. And when I say they, I mean multiple. There was a conspiracy to kill him. It wasn't some guy, Tyler Robinson, with his grandpa's rifle, which was never fired, which is why they couldn't find that rifle. You have to swallow so much stuff to believe the story that the establishment is pushing for Charlie Kirk's assassination. Yeah. You have to think that this, first of all, a 30-06 bullet didn't take his head clean off or leave a drive-through window in the back of his neck. Somehow he had a miracle. His miracle bullet, remember that? Hey, can you give me an explanation of why his head didn't blow off without a miracle? Do you have an actual explanation? No. So, but it goes back to, so this guy gets to the campus. He drives 3. All of a sudden, he wakes up one day and goes, you know what? I'm going to commit the biggest public assassination in the last 60 years. He drives to the campus. He finds the open stairwell. It's open. Nobody's there. He brings the gun up, but it's too big, so he has to take it apart and put it in his backpack. Still too big for his backpack, so he has to put it down his pant legs, is what they tell. But then if he did, he couldn't go up the steps because he couldn't bend his knees. So I don't know how he got it up there. Nobody will tell me. So he gets up there, and then he changes his clothes. He's up on top of that roof for 10 minutes. That's according to the governor. He was up there for 8 to 10 minutes. Nobody sees him. The cops don't see him. The $1 million security team doesn't see him. Nobody sees him except people in the crowd did see him. And they don't tell you that. People, just like in Butler, Pennsylvania, people in the crowd saw him. Guess who didn't see him? The cops, the local cops, the state cops, the Secret Service. People see it. So, and then he puts the gun together. He lines up the shot, puts a scope on it. By the way, if that scope was on it, he couldn't fire that gun because of the safe. Anyway, so he lines it up, takes the shot, hits it perfectly, takes the gun apart, leaves the screwdriver there, puts it under a towel, Spider-Man's his way off the top of a building, runs across campus with the gun apparently under a towel. Nobody sees this. He runs into the woods, puts the gun back together again without the screwdriver. He's a regular MacGyver, this guy. And then he hides the gun in the backyard of a house owned by Palantir. And if you think anything else besides that, you're a crazy Jew-hating conspiracy nut. Do you know that they had the gun sniffing dogs, right? Which they can sniff a gun that was fired a week earlier in the rain, right? They were looking all over. They didn't find it. The FBI shows up a minute later. We got the gun. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, you could. Baron Coleman's been doing great work on this, and he got the police transmitter, all that stuff. He got that. That's available. And so it wasn't until the FBI showed up. Oh, well, we got it. No, the local police couldn't find it. And the dogs.
This is the best quick breakdown. He's almost done. But remember with the pipe bomber, the police are just walking around the park and they go right to where the bombs are and know right where it is. And it just goes on and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. Total setup. And we knew that at the time. Now we know who did it, all of it, and they're covering it up. It's just, we just have lawless, insane criminals because they can just steal everything. And why shouldn't they just keep stealing? But then none of it makes sense. And again, just going back to this, I had a reporter on, who I know well, and she's in national talk shows. But the point is, this is like 2 months ago. And the trial Robinson's having some of the pretrial stuff. And she's there every day up in Utah. She lives there, talking to the family. Like 8 or 9, 10 of them. And they're all telling her this stuff. And I talked to other reporters that talked to them as well. And so they're all just there openly talking to reporters saying, oh, yeah, it's all set up. The government did it, blah, blah, blah. He's innocent. He knows he's innocent. Now, none of this is true. We didn't say he did it. We didn't say he, but we're all scared for our lives. And then this particular reporter released one of the files that somebody else had recorded. And there they are saying a lot of this. But just imagine, Sean, none of that, the stuff I've heard is even worse. None of that ever hit the news. I mean, my show got millions of views, but like you'd think that'd be a bigger deal that the family says it's all a lie.
Yeah.
But instead, the family all says that Tyler Robinson did it. And people say I've changed my tune on that. You had 10 different tranny groups in the days before Kirk was killed, the 3 days before, 6 of them the day before saying he'll be dead tomorrow. Okay, and you have this leftist guy that popped up and said, I'm the shooter, so quote, the shooter can get away. And so I was imagining you have a lot of tranny shooters that could have been plausible, or it could just be a cutout or a setup, like we saw with the Crooks. So I just wanted time to investigate it. And then I've, of course, exposed that Patel ordered a cover-up of foreign involvement or local involvement. Mm-hmm. But now the facts are in. And now we know they covered up the crime scene and all that. So now I want to ask you when this is over in a minute, what you think should be done, because this is a big deal. Because if they'll kill Charlie Kirk, and we have the head of the ADL a few months ago, Jonathan Greenblatt, saying the same energy we use with exploding pagers against Hamas in Lebanon and in Gaza, in the West Bank, we need to use it against Americans that say that Israel drug us into this war. They set these litmus tests, like, don't say we drug you in, even though Israel admits they did. And you're just like, and then the Israel lobby is like lobbying and kicking anybody out of Congress that isn't for the war. And then the ADL head says, we're not censoring you, and we didn't drag you into war. And if you don't like it, we'll use the same energy we use with exploding pagers. Now, Sean, is that a threat or a threat?
That's a fucking threat. That's a fucking threat. That's a straight up threat. That's a warning to everybody. Watch your mouth, or we'll fucking blow you up.
Well, I mean, I want to say this. It's been a big part of that lobby suing me and attacking me and doing all this. But I want to say this. I'm not suicidal. I love life. If I die, drug overdose, I don't use drugs, okay? I drink some and drink coffee and stuff. That's some tobacco. That's it. So if they say I drive of a drug overdose, not true. Suicide, not true. Any of that. And I'm really seriously, if I have to look at the different groups out there that want to kill me, on the street, it's the trans people that have them threaten me on the street when they just see me. They are very violent. That's why I was kind of prejudiced towards thinking maybe the story was true at first. At least we should look at it. So if out in public, it'll be a trans person kills me. Used to have white supremacists threaten me all the time. They still do some because they work for the Southern Poverty Law Center, most of them. But if I get killed, I have to say, if I get murdered or if they say I committed suicide, Israel is the main suspect. And if they keep getting away with killing our journalists and our citizens, then we're their slaves. And but I guess the leadership of Israel says we're slaves. So I guess that's just how they see it.
Yeah.
Nick with you again, looking at segment 6. Here we dive headfirst into the anatomy of a modern internet conspiracy theory. The subject is the death of a prominent conservative figure, and the hosts are actively constructing an alternate reality around it in real time. They dismiss the official law enforcement narrative out of hand Instead, they introduce classic conspiratorial elements: the patsy shooter, the miraculous bullet, the suspiciously quick FBI intervention, and the literal covering up of the crime seen with concrete. This mirrors the exact playbook used in mid-20th century assassination theories, but accelerated for the digital age. As a media observer, it's chilling to watch how quickly a human tragedy is commodified into content. They demand the audience reject the simplest explanation in favor of a sprawling, multi-agency assassination plot. By telling the audience that believing the official story means you are naive or part of the cover-up, they isolate their viewers from mainstream reality, cementing their own position as the sole arbiters of the truth.
What are your thoughts? Hold up. Like, I know when we first talked about this originally, you were leaning more towards, let's let this play out with the investigation, stuff like that, as far as Charlie Kirk goes. Seems like you've shifted. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, let me be accurate there. And I can see how that's what it looks like, but this is how my brain works if you watch my show or listen to it. I will come on and war game something when it's first happening and say, in my mind, it could be these 3 or 4 or 5, whatever the scenarios are. Then we start putting things kind of like in boxes of how much weight that has, okay? And so I will sit there and war game through, yes, it could be Israel. Yeah, it could be the Republicans because they want to take over TPUSA because it's the whole future at that time. It could be the Democrats because you're getting so many people registered to vote. Trans people are really violent and all these other events are happening and they said they were going to kill him. It could be them. But then when you got the weird ChatGPT confession letter and the story didn't add up and it's a 30-odd sex but doesn't go through his throat, I came out all the time saying, I don't believe this. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't ready to say, because it's hard for me to believe because I've known some of those guys, not like good friends, but I mean, they're just kind of goofy Christian guys. I don't mean that in a mean thing. I find it hard to believe that the leadership of TPUSA was like in on killing him or at a secret military base with 12 colonels the day before planning the killing. That's not how that works.
Right.
And so I simply looked at stories coming out saying, I don't think this is credible over here because the Mitch Snow guy was a known convicted super con man, like from Catch Me If You Can or something. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He's like, my wife came and stole the keys and locked me in the garage as a prisoner and beat me with hammers. And then there's video of him doing it to her. I'm just like, oh, this guy's not credible. They go, it doesn't matter if he's a liar. He was at Huachuca. And so I went, look, there's all this real proof. I've got Kash Patel in the cabinet meeting telling Tulsi Gabbard and others, you are not going to look into foreign involvement. And months later, they came out and it was declassified. I broke that. No one cared about super white-hot smoking gun. We have a cover-up, okay? No one cared about that. It was just like, here's some crazy dude saying all this made-up crap. And then all her surrogates attacked me, and I got pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, God, you work for Israel, or you're on the payroll. And I'm just like, no, I mean, I think Israel might have been involved. Certainly government looks like it's a cover-up.
Yeah.
I said, let's be credible here.
What are your thoughts now, though?
Oh, I mean, now, because the contractor just came out 2 weeks ago and said, no, they said, get rid of it now. Dig in feet, remove all the concrete, pour in new concrete immediately as fast as you can. What the hell?
That means there's evidence that was left that they didn't recover.
And remember, you and I war gamed all this and said it did look like an exploding microphone there that fires both ways and all that, that malfunctioned, but we weren't sure. And I said all that back at the time. So when I'm doing an investigation, I'm getting more pieces, watching things they develop. He comes in wearing the trans flag, looks like he's under MK Ultra, and I went, well, maybe they just dressed him up in that, and he does look like he's been electroshocked or something. Classic vegetable. They did that to McVeigh. They did it to Sirhan in other setups. So now, 100%, Charlie was murdered by a sophisticated group. Tyler Robinson is 100% a patsy. Mm-hmm. The whole family says that. Says nothing they say is ever, none of it's true. They're all scared for their lives. And every other reporter is even scared to touch this. Mm. And I told them, I said, listen, you guys think all this, you better say it. I'm not going to kill your whole family. But I did say all 10 of you shouldn't get on the same airplane. I mean, because what's going to happen? And already they're totally controlling the trial. They're not giving the defense anything they're supposed to get. Oh, you can't see the gun. You can't see ballistics. You can't see any of this. So, no, 100%. And I remember at first it's, Charlie criticized Israel. Charlie said the lobby was coming after him. Charlie said he was worried for his life. And I was like, well, let's check it. Let's see if that's accurate. And they released all the text messages. And they said, Candace is lying. That's not real. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Charlie called me and said some of this stuff. Well, wait a minute. Harrison Smith put out a tweet a month before he got killed saying Charlie's worried that he's going to get killed by Israel. And then they're like, give us your source. How did Harrison know that? There's a reason we have sources. Okay? But just understand, he was at a big Ron Paul event for like his 90th birthday or whatever. And let's just say this. I mean, you see the people that come on Harrison shows and come on and on the broadcast. We have a lot of sources. But as soon as Kirk got killed, we were called by Joe Kent and others asking what we thought and what we knew. So that's the level of stuff we're involved in. And it wasn't Joe Kent that told Harrison or any of my other crew about that meeting that was classified. I got that from another person in the meeting that was so freaked out by it about don't look at foreign involvement, don't look at a foreign country, and don't look at, because I was also like accomplices. You got 10 trannies in the town saying he'll be dead tomorrow, or 6 of them the day before and 4 the day before that. And then saying, see, we told you he'd be dead. So they had some group talking about it and Tyler running his mouth or somehow to have that fallback story. But so I'm like, hey, haul them in, prosecute them as accessories, and then we'll find out about their handlers who are going to end up being government and psychiatrists and people. And then he was also in a DARPA CIA feeder program. Mm-hmm. And with brain interface, so was the Batman shooter in Aurora. And it goes on and on where these people get recruited into CIA college programs.
Yeah. Well, this is
Don't forget the Unabomber. The Unabomber, declassified, was in the CIA.
Yeah.
MK Ultra. I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
And guess what? His doctor was the deputy head of MK Ultra for over 45 years. Jolly and West worked under Dr. Ewing Cameron. This is all declassified.
Yeah.
Guess who Jack Ruby, the Israeli operative and mobster who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, the patsy, guess who his psychiatrist was that visited him daily and then he died of a 1-week cancer?
Who?
Jolly and West.
No shit.
Guess who Sirhan's government-appointed doctor was? Shot RFK Jr.
Who?
Jolly and West. Guess who McVeigh's doctor the entire time from when he was arrested, he was there 2 days later, until he was executed at Terre Haute in Indiana. Guess who his doctor was?
Let me guess.
Jolly and West. You want to keep going?
Go
The
ahead.
shooters of Reagan, Jolly and West.
Johnny West.
Jolly and West. Jolly and West. Jolly and West. Jolly and West. Jolly and West. Oh, who helps the Unabomber out when he's in the Supermax? Jolly and West. Yeah. So now you're starting to get it?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not like, now with the chips and stuff, they do have total mind control where you can be like a robot. You know, they had 30 years ago a rat with a chip in it where they can robo-rat into rubble or whatever. But Sean, all they do is strap your ass down and give you 20 doses of LSD and electroshock your cerebral cortex and run white-hot electricity over it, and you don't remember anything going back 5 years.
Yeah.
They just shock, and you look at Robinson, he walks in, he's like,
Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I noticed. Looked like he was sedated.
Well, and they may not just kill me or other patriots. They could go do some murder or bombing, and then, guys, if you see me rolled out 3 months later in court, and I'm like, ooh, they got me, folks. Electrical lobotomy. That's electroshock. So this is what I look like in the real world. And I'm telling you, they hate me so much. I've been wargaming their stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to prophesy this or anything, but I'm telling you, man.
Keep moving. Keep moving.
I'm telling you, man. But just anybody you see, they roll out as a patsy, like Sirhan Herman, and they're just like, and this is the guy that carried out this incredible operation?
This is that video of Eric Kirk.
Most alarming things about Charlie's murder was the way that some people in this country reacted to it.
Welcome back. It's Nick. Segment 7 provides a fascinating psychological window into how fringe commentators justify their leaps of logic. The host proudly describes his method as wargaming, treating news events as military intelligence exercises where every outcome is a plot. To validate his theory that the accused shooter in this case is a mind-controlled puppet, he reaches back into history, specifically citing MK Ultra, the Unabomber, and historical assassins. Now, MK Ultra was a real, deeply unethical CIA program, and that historical truth is the bait. The host uses that real documented government abuse from decades ago as proof that the government is currently using electroshock therapy to create robot assassins today. It's guilt by historical association. If they did something bad in the 1960s, They must be doing this specific bad thing right now. It creates a pseudo-intellectual framework that makes pure speculation sound like historical analysis. It's a very persuasive technique for an audience already primed to distrust authority.
Yeah. And not just online. This was an idea that you encountered a lot. And the idea was this. They kind of justified it. They basically said that because Charlie said or believed things that they believed were controversial or even hateful, that he somehow had it coming. What do you say to people who justified his death?
You're sick. He's a human being. You think he deserved that? Tell that to my 3-year-old daughter.
That sounded so scripted.
Excuse me. You want to watch in high res the video of my husband being murdered and laugh and say he deserves it? There's something very sick in your soul, and I pray that God saves you. I pray. Because that is what is so wrong. The internet in this world has dehumanized us.
Erica, one of the most...
Well, stop. I'm glad you played that.
Yeah.
You know, I've held my tongue on Erica Kirk. We'll go to a minute. This is important.
You mean the host of the UFC White House card? Is that what you're talking about? That Erica Kirk?
Well, once you play your other clip, I'll make my comment on Erica Kirk. Sean's over here obsessed with finding his other clip. Anyways, but one problem with this is they've also flooded the zone with like people blacked out faces with their voices changed. Like, I was there when they planned the killing, and I can tell you that she was this. There's been so much just flat out disinfo put out on Erica Kirk, which turns out to not be real. I'm forced to say that's fake, that's fake, that's fake. But the way she responds and the way she does it, I've told TPUSA like 2 weeks into this, I said, guys, you got to get her off the air. I mean, she just is going to destroy the organization. If you call it Q scores, that's likability or believability. She has, and I'm not trying to be mean to Erica.
This pod will clean your retainer at the top.
Well, this will clean my retainer. Stop playing with that like a little cat with a laser pointer for a minute. I'm telling you, though, like, the more she talks, the worse it gets. And she comes off in those videos, I mean, looking crazy and looking absolutely plastic and looking fake as hell. And so I got to tell you, Erica Kirk has probably knocked 6-7 points off Trump's approval rating herself. And she has blown giant holes in TPUSA.
Well, they keep throwing her out there, though.
That's because none of them will. It's all the Emperor's New Clothes. You know the parable of the Emperor's New Clothes?
No.
Well, there's this kingdom, and it's real fast. And these incredible suit makers come to town that make the most incredible clothing for royalty, and it's just everybody's got to have it. But only if you're royal can you even see the clothing. But if you're profane and an evil person, you can't even see it. And so, and so they weave this imaginal stuff, but no one can see it. But no one wants to admit that they can't see it because that means they're profane and evil. And so the emperor, basically is having a big parade, and he's marching in his underwear, basically naked at the head of it. And a 3-year-old steps forward and says, "Look, the emperor's naked." And then everybody goes and starts laughing and admits it was all a giant mind control deal. So that's Stockholm syndrome or mass Stockholm syndrome, or you could call it giant group psychosis. And they just can't admit to themselves that the more she talks, the more they think that she's involved. And she's a widow. I'm not the type of guy that gangs up on people. I liked TPUSA in the past. I was invited to their things. Charlie called me the most censored man in the world, so he was a great guy. But they are going in a direction different from Charlie. And so it's so horrific to actually watch and see what they're up to and the way they come out and try to challenge their detractors with empty stuff. And I've told them, I've said, guys, if I was you, I'd just shut up and do your voter outreach and get back to issues. But instead, they can't help it. They got to make it all about being pro-Israel. What does TPUSA have to do about Israel? It's about getting young people to be conservative, nationalist, and voting.
Yep.
You know, it's just, but oh no, Israel's under attack, so let's make it all about Israel. It's called a Streisand effect. And I'm not even trying to give them advice because, you know, they've totally gone sideways. I'm wondering why they're so stupid. I'm wondering why they didn't listen to me. I mean, I talked to the head people. I'm talked to her. I'm people that know her well. That's another thing. I really respect Tucker. And he says Erica Kirk's a great person. And, you know, now it's come out, that it's in the Wall Street Journal today that Israel does not want J.D. Vance because he's really anti-war behind the scenes. So maybe she was a theater kid. They are all about personas and all about going off a script just because that makes them feel good. And maybe she's just a terrible actress, so she should stop doing it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I've never seen such bad acting. I mean, it's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, lady, but God almighty. I mean, just go hire a Hollywood firm that does Q scores. If you don't know what that is, you think you're a media person, you should know. You have the worst Q scores I've ever seen. And also, the decisions you make, I mean, look, the hot leather outfits a couple days after he's dead, shaking your ass on, you look hot, baby. I'm not going to tell you that. But you're not up there at a Vegas show, okay? And you're not about to ride a pole here. So, I mean, it's not good. I mean, people should have seen big black circles over on the side, and it was real. TPUSA would have been 10 times bigger. But it's just not normal. And I understand if you're a theater kid, they get professional, they compartmentalize in and do that. But, and I understand, I was never a theater kid, didn't like theater, but I just know that most of the left of the theater kids, I'm a mission-oriented guy, so when I'm under a lot of stress, that's when I tend to do the best and get on message. People could say that's fake, but it's not, because I have the highest Q scores you can get, according to separate companies that did it. I never even asked for it. When Fox News tried to hire me several times, Roger Ailes wanted me to do a weekend show, and they said, we're going to position you. They thought Limbaugh he was in Hawaii and had like a heart attack nobody knew about, and they thought he was going to die then, like 10 years, 15 years before he did die, and they wanted to position me for that. They knew we were on Limbaugh, but I'm going to have managers tell me what to do, and it's going to be great, and I can move to Florida or New York. And they said, no. They said, you've got the highest Q scores we can get, and with a little bit of training, all the rest of the stuff, you're going to be number one. And of course, years later, I was number one anyways without that. But Q scores isn't just like that you look good, it's that you're believable, and they do focus groups, and people say that person's telling me the truth, or that person believes what they're saying. You know, genuineness. And lady, you have zero. You have like a negative Q score. Okay, and I think the pressure of this got to her, because I went back and saw older interviews of her and stuff. It wasn't that bad. She was like a likable, nice,
Yeah, she wasn't lying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know what you're lying about, lady, but I mean, do me a favor again. Why don't you stick with getting people registered to vote and conservative values? Because you trying to fight off this stuff and getting all mad and going, and I tell you, you people think you're going to defeat me. You're not. Never. You are literally poking the bear. Yeah. And how's it working out for you? But listen, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make a drink. You find your other clip?
What do you, no, I'm not. I gave it up.
I want to find it.
What do you think?
No, let's take a break. Find it. We've got to have this Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson and the Sean Johnson Experience. It's the Sean Johnson Show. Hey, you guys better subscribe and you better share this video. Rawr. Or you work for Mossad.
Nick here for our final segment. And frankly, this is where the rhetoric turns incredibly cruel. The hosts play a clip of the grieving widow and immediately proceed to tear her apart. They attack her appearance, her acting ability, her media metrics or Q scores, and her authenticity. This highlights a deeply disturbing pattern in conspiracy communities. When a survivor or family member of a tragedy pushes back against the conspiracy theory or simply doesn't behave exactly how the internet expects a victim to behave, they are instantly branded as crisis actors or co-conspirators. The host claims he isn't trying to be mean right before delivering a highly personal, vicious critique of a woman who just lost her husband. This segment highlights the ultimate collateral damage of these broadcasts. It's not just abstract geopolitical theories. It results in the targeted harassment of real people experiencing profound grief simply because their reality contradicts the lucrative, paranoid narrative the hosts are selling.